I was good on Friday. Friday was OPEX, so I did not trade. Historically, I don't do well trading OPEX, so I stayed my ass out the market. So I used this weekend to go over some of my mental blocks, and I did quite a bit of research and searching and trying to figure out where my issues have been that have been causing the inconsistency. I came across the author of Best Loser Wins, I believe is the title of the book. Tom, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this man's name and butcher it. But he would talk about I came across a video of his, Trader Tom, and it basically, the premise of the video was 90 to 95% of traders are normal people that have normal brains, and that's why they fail at trading. So the idea is that 5 to 10% that are successful, their brains are inherently wired differently. How is mine different, and what are they doing differently? So I made one real simple alteration to the way I was looking at the market today. I wanted to look at it from the bottom line instead of the top line. Instead of looking at his price targets and how much I wanted to make, I tried looking at it as how much I was willing to lose. So the only thing I really paid attention to, or tried to, was my stop loss. And on my first trade today, I entered here on the 5-minute. I actually got in on this retest here of pre-market high at 1025. I got in right about here. I was a little bit slow on it. Actually, I got in at 150, 160, so I was a little bit after this. And that was partially technical, partially slow. So I was just watching the stop here. And I set the stop at the bottom of this previous candle. And then I set the stop here at this candle. And then in my brain I'm going, if I find a 5-minute that closes below the last green, I'll stop out. So what happened? I got to here, right here, and fear kicked in, so I closed. And granted I closed out for 40%, so it wasn't a terrible trade. But did this go 100? It absolutely did. It went more than 100%. And all I had to do was hold. One of the things that was holding me back on this is I was playing 0 DTEs and it was moving slowly. These slow grinds up like this, I don't like to trade them because it makes me uncomfortable. Even looking at it as a stop is, okay, now I'm guaranteed to only lose this. I'm guaranteed to break even. I am guaranteed to make 10%. I am guaranteed to make 25%. That was not enough here. So that was really taxing on me mentally to do that. So then some crazy shit happened right here at 1 o'clock, which was the 20-year bond yield auction result. And this big Hulk dildo here, I figured, well, I'm an awful perfectionist. Whenever I play video games, I try to catch every item. I'm the worst Pokemon player ever. I try to get all the rings, all the coins, all the power-ups, all the items, explored every dungeon, hit every corner. So I didn't want to lose the opportunity to learn here. So I switched to the sim, which I don't normally do. But I figured because it's a game and it not real money, the only thing I needed to do was basically put on a big enough risk on that account on the sim that if I blew it, I'd be frustrated with myself for not following my plan, and I wanted to follow exactly the same plan as I did before. So this red here, as soon as this reclaimed this daily reject here at 453.57, I put on a huge simulated position, like full ported it, and because I didn't want to blow my sim account. I worked really hard to get consistent on that just to fuck it up on my live account. So I set the same rule: 5-minute stop below the previous, 5-minute close below previous green. I will get out. I followed, so I got in, followed this up here, and here's where I deviated slightly from my plan. And the reason I did this was because I was looking at it on the smaller time frame. And I'm going to just go right down to the 1. Where this came down here, volume was slowing down. Sorry, it's right here. Look at this red volume slow down. Then we got a hammer off the 21. Granted, it's on the 1 minute, so it's the lowest likelihood possible. So I figured I would just hold it and stick to break even. At my exit, I'd stop out at break even. Kept it held, met into a low. And then big volume on this green here to reclaim that 53-57 region, and then it just kept going. I'm going back to the 5-minute, and it just kept going. And I set that every time it would go up after 10-15 minutes, I'd bump the stop up a little bit. And I think right about here, I was watching this one and was watching volume, and I saw this one was below the 8 on the 5. Normally this would be a cause of alarm, but I had quite a bit of conviction because of the volume that pushed this up over this daily supply, which over here it held and turned it into a support, and then just kept riding up, just kept reset the stop, just kept going, and then right here, this was at what time? This was at, I actually closed out on this green right here at about 10 after 3. I'm not going to say that I closed it out on the top, because I didn't, but I was watching volume there, and I didn't want to give back any of my points in power hour, so I closed the whole thing out there for an 80%, and that's all it took. In this entire time, I know that this was not real. This was not real money. This was a simulated trade. I still felt the same in my heart. I still felt the adrenaline, and I had the same feeling after I closed this out that I get when I actually stick with my plan and really crush a trade. So there was no cash value earned from this, but the lesson that I gained from this at 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock, this 2 hours, was unbelievably valuable. Because if I had been just gotten into this on my live account, I probably would have gotten out here. The first dip, the first sign of inconsistency or weakness, I would have tried to maximize how much I retained from this setup, and I would have just closed it out at 18-20%. and then it went 80. It went 80%. I'd actually considered adding on this dip, actually, because sim account, I can put myself into a position of having to stare at giant numbers and hopefully condition myself to it. But that's it. That was the thinking like 5% instead of thinking like the 95%. It was really that simple. I'm going to continue. I'm going to back test this a little bit, and I can continue playing with it on the sim. But this, if it worked once, it might work again. But it also, this followed a bunch of rules that I had already set for myself, because I had seen things set up a certain way before, and I had seen on a number of occasions it follow and play out exactly the way my trading plan had prophesized, and I did not have the cojones to overcome the fear. This trade here, I closed out on fear, and it did exactly what I said it was going to do. This one here, I did not close out on fear. I just watched the huge position I put on make a bigger and bigger number in the green, and said, well, if it dumps back and reverses, no, I followed my plan too. That's how many points did I get off that one? How many tickets? How many arcade tokens? So I'm going to make myself notes and try to follow that as best I can on the sim for a little while, and maybe I can transfer it over into a little bit less volatile instrument, and maybe I can do it like that on futures. Only the future will tell. Awesome. Have a good night.